Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacono with Army Defensive Coordinator Daryl Dixon. And we are here at the GoBlackKnights.com podcast, a little over a week into fall camp. Coach Dixon, just starting off, what would, from what you've seen out of your team since they've come back from summer training and gotten started in fall camp, what would you assess kind of as the defense's best strength right now? And what area do you think needs the most work between now and opening day?
Yeah, so coming back in the summer, we really did a lot of work on fundamentals, right? That's one thing that we're going to hang our hat on here. So fundamentally, right, that's where the foundation is. And then going, through the summer, we got some work, being able to be out there with them, and thank goodness for that. And now, going into preseason camp, we feel like, the first 5 days, we've kind of, we've been with install, a lot of install. So, guys are kind of getting their feet wet, getting back. I think, when you talk about the strengths of our defense, you start with experience. And right now, our D-line has the most experience. And they're, kind of the engine right now for our defense, which, if you want to be pretty good on defense, the D-line's got to have a force. Things we need to improve on is just fundamentally every day. The biggest thing in college football is, can you get them on the ground? And if you can't tackle, right, and they're getting positive yards even after contact, that's not good, for a good recipe to be 2nd and 2. So just fundamentally, everything fundamentals right now, and keep progressing. And good, you said, however many days away, and I'm glad we have those days because we're going to need them.
Need all of them, right? So, yeah, and what we're going to do now, Coach Dixon, is just go through a little bit of a position by position breakdown. There's a lot of new names and faces on the defense, right? Having to replace 8 graduating seniors. We're going to discuss who's in the mix to start and, fill some of those slots from last year's defense. We'll start with the D-line, which you mentioned is probably the most experienced and maybe the strongest part of the defense. Obviously, Cody Harris-Miller comes back with a ton of experience. Jack Balsam, who had a really strong sophomore season. I think fans are really excited to see what he can do this year. We've heard the name Dylan Stowers thrown around a lot as a guy who's shown out well in spring practice and the beginning of fall camp. First of all, how's Dylan coming along, and who else do you think's in the mix to be in the rotation on the D-line? Because we know those guys don't play every snap.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you talk about a guy who's going to be a surprise for this season, Dylan Stowers would be my top choice right now. He is really working hard. I mean, he's been, I don't want to say unblockable, but he's executing the defense the way that it needs to be, and he's setting an example for the other guys. And you talked about Cody Harris-Miller, right? He's going to be a key. Obviously, knows Jack Balsam, right? With all his accolades, right, that he's received preseason, he's still, right, keeping his head down and grinding. And then you have guys behind him like Nick Bucky's, right? Nick Bucky's really had a really good spring. He's only getting better from the summer, getting stronger. Sean Donovan, right? Sean Donovan, who played a little bit, but not a lot, but is only gaining confidence, especially competing with the guys in front of him. So we have some names, Javon Smith, right, that have played and that really has experience, right? And so we have some guys that have played, and we have some young guys coming up like Cale Newton, right? Who know true Army fans, if they watch that UTSA game.
He kind of we right? saw Cale, yeah,
absolutely, right. He kind of came out of nowhere, but again, he's only progressing. So if you have a D line, right, that's 8, 9 deep, you feel pretty good about it. And right now, right, like I said, they're doing a great job. Coach Hogue is coaching them up hard, and they're only accepting that coaching and getting better.
Good stuff. And then we'll move to the linebackers specifically. We'll start with the inside backers. We had the opportunity to speak with Bryson Banks and Kai Wolfhoek on Saturday after practice. We know both of those guys are in the mix and have made some plays and have some experience on special teams and otherwise. Who else has an opportunity to compete for a starting spot at inside linebacker?
Yeah, so with those names you mentioned, Elijah Walton really coming on. The first 6 practices, he made some plays out there. Nick McGlynn, who most Army fans probably don't know, he was young last year, but a big physical guy that not only going to make an impact on special teams, but hopefully, right, get in the rotation to see some time. And you have some really young guys, right, direct freshmen that have really impressed Coach Weaver, and have gotten, in with the veterans with Philip Goodrich and Deion Miller. So it's going to be by
Okay,
committee.
yeah, we know a lot about Philip Goodrich specifically.
Yep.
We interviewed him and his whole family before he came to West Point. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's good to hear. He's done well as a plebe there.
Yeah, he's doing really well. So it's going to be by committee, right? Replacing the two guys that we've had, as a pillar for the last couple of years, is not going to be an easy task. But I think with the development, right, and the cohesive unit that they're going to be, I think we can make this defense what we need it to be.
Good. And as we move to the outside, I guess my first question, right? Coach Woody had a pretty unique kind of scheme and nomenclature with the guys on the outside. You had the dog end, who was like the Eric Ford, Andre Carter pass rusher, and then the Apache / nickel position, which was filled by a number of guys. Most recently, Gavin Shields. If we are you going to use the same nomenclature? Or are you changing that up? Or are you changing the roles up at all with those two positions?
No, it's the same. It's the same. We have
Okay.
a dog and we have an Apache, and we're gonna. They're. I tell you what, if you're talking about, a Swiss Army knife in our defense, they got to be able to do everything. So we're really important to what we do. And talking about the dog position, Noah Nixon, Christian Yusufzada, Victor Afalabi, even down to Xavier Ryan, Jacob Hinton. Names that the Army fans don't know about yet, but they are really, really progressing and doing a good job this preseason. Hopefully, they can keep that up. And then you talk about the Apache position. Cole Seawright, right, played a little bit
Yep.
last year, along with Zane Tallman and Daniel O'Gordy. So there's some names there, right? We still got to see, again, when the bright lights come on, when we start scrimmaging, because that's going to mean something to all those guys in the competition, right? When you get a chance to actually submit your name to see if you can take a starting spot. So it's going to be exciting, right? And when you have competition, that fuels, a good defense. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and I know you guys have your first scrimmage this Saturday coming up. What are you looking to see from the defense on that scrimmage, and kind of what will stand out, for some of these guys that are competing for a role?
Yeah, anytime you like you talk about, all these positions are up for grabs, so it's excitement, right? But with excitement sometimes comes lack of execution. I want to try so hard, right, that I don't do my job. So what I
Absolutely.
really want to see, right, is how well we execute down to down, right? Where my eyes are supposed to be, my foot, my hands, right? Just the little things fundamentally, because those little things become big things, right? If you're standing in the backfield and they're running by you. So that's what I'm looking for: execution, along with how well we tackle.
Good stuff. And, so let's move back to the secondary. Obviously, Jaden Mays returns with a ton of experience at one corner. And of course, at the other corner, we know, Jackson Hammond got some playing time last year, a couple other guys. Who else is going to compete with Jackson at that other corner position for starts?
Julian Porter has every day, right? I've talked about Julian Porter, right, to the team, to Coach Prince. He's a ball hawk right now. He's got a turnover every single day, and
Wow.
he's going to be, he's really, really progressed from the spring. So Julian Porter is definitely in the mix, and Robert Houston, he's definitely in the mix. So you have a top four right now, right, and then trying to build some depth, but you have a top four that we feel pretty good about going into this year.
And then finally, the safeties, coached by the new safeties coach and your co-DC, Scott Sloan. Obviously, Stephen Nadozi's the captain, but he's starting for the first time full-time this year. And then, at the other safety position, Caleb Williams has some experience. Who else is in the mix at safety?
Yeah. So he's more famous, right, for saving lives than he is for football right now. But Larry Porter is going to see the field.
LJ, yeah.
Yeah, the mayor of West Point, he's going to see the field this year. So he's definitely in the mix. You
Could
guys like
you Sorry, Daryl. Could you talk about that? It's really interesting, right? A young kid like that getting as much publicity and every day somebody's telling him he's the second coming. What's that like on the football field? Has that impacted his growth mindset, ability to learn, all the things you look for in a young football player back there?
Absolutely not. He's been great, right? He's been great because the one thing he wants to do is play.
Yep.
I think going to all these dinners and getting awards is great, but he came here, right, for a bigger purpose. One is to play football. And so he's been locked in, and he's been doing a great job. Other guys, back there, they're seeing some playing time. David Tom Rogers, who's done a really good job this off season to get stronger, get faster, and develop. But again, that's going to be another group by committee, right? If we can play two the whole season, that's great. But in this day and age, you're going to have guys that step in when if you unfortunately have injuries. So we're trying to build a depth. Coach Sloan, like you mentioned, has done a great job with those guys, not only developing them, but helping me right in this transition. And I feel really great about our defensive staff and how we're pushing our team. And hopefully we put out a product that you guys will be excited about.
Awesome. And last question for you. I should have hit it when I hit the defensive line, but kind of forgot about it. Some people have been asking about Matt Gemma's status. Can you give us an update on him?
Yeah, he's back, right? He's back.
Okay, great.
Yep. So he was on leave for a while, and now he's back, and that's another guy. I appreciate you bringing him up. Not to miss anybody, but he's done a great job as well at the nose position. So he's also going to be in that mix to see some playing times and be in that 3 deep and help us.
Awesome. Coach Dixon, appreciate your time tonight. Know you guys are busy during fall camp, doing a million things, and thank you for taking the time to speak with GBK. Look forward to the rest of fall camp with you and on into your first season as defensive coordinator at Army. This has been Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com. Feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. We are inching closer to 1,000 subscribers, so very excited about that. Thank you. Go Army and beat it.